I want a divorce." The words slammed into Nyara like a freight train, knocking the air clean out of her lungs. She sat in the sterile conference room of Morrison and Associates, still wearing the black dress from her father's funeral. It had only been 3 days since they'd lowered his casket into the ground, and now she was watching her husband of 4 years slide divorce papers across the polished mahogany table without even having the decency to meet her eyes. "Trevor." Nyara's voice cracked, splintered into 1,000 pieces. "I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. A baby I never agreed to have." Trevor finally looked up, and Nyara found herself staring at a complete stranger. His eyes were cold, calculating. "Already gone. I told you from the very beginning I wasn't ready for children, Nyara. You got pregnant anyway." "It was an accident," she whispered, her hand instinctively moving to her still flat stomach. "We weren't even trying." "Well, it's not my problem to deal with anymore." He tapped the divorce papers with one finger, the same finger that wore the wedding band she'd saved 3 months of her meager salary to buy him. "I'm marrying Celeste. The wedding is already planned for next month. The venue is booked, the invitations are ordered. Just sign the papers and let's end this cleanly. No drama, no mess." Nyara stared at him, her mind trying desperately to process what she was hearing. "You're paralegal. You're leaving me while I'm pregnant with your child to marry the woman you've been sleeping with behind my back for God knows how long. Don't be so dramatic about it, Nyara." Derek sighed like she was being tedious, like she was the unreasonable one. "Celeste and I fell in love. These things happen in life. You and I, we were never really a good match. Deep down, you must know that. We came from completely different worlds." Nyara looked down at the divorce settlement, her hands trembling with a rage so pure and hot it felt like electricity coursing through her veins. $80,000. He was offering her $80,000 to walk away from 4 years of marriage. The marriage where she'd worked 2 jobs, pulling double shifts at the community crisis center and weekend shifts at the hospital to pay off his law school debt. Where she'd smiled through his colleagues' condescending comments about her adorable little counseling job while they discussed real careers and real money. Where she'd buried every single one of her own dreams and ambitions to build his future. "Look, your father is gone now." Trevor straightened his tie, that same dismissive gesture she'd seen 1,000 times. "No offense intended, but without him, you're basically back to being broke. Back to square one. Celeste comes from the kind of family that can actually help my career advance to the next level. Her father owns 3 major law firms across the state. They have connections at the state level, possibly federal judiciary. You understand, don't you? It's just business. It's practical thinking." Nyara's phone buzzed violently against the table. A text from her father's attorney. "Do not sign anything. Come to my office immediately. Your father left you $47 billion and a global empire. The will reading is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. There's something else you need to know. Your father didn't die naturally. He was murdered. You're in very real danger now. I've arranged protection. His name is Seo-jun. Trust him with your life. He's the only one who can keep you safe from what's coming." Nyara looked up at Trevor, this man who thought she was worthless, who believed she had nothing and was nothing, who was so absolutely confident in his superiority. And for the first time in 4 years of swallowing her pride and making herself small, she smiled a real smile. "I'll give you my answer in 24 hours, she said quietly, her voice steady as steel. "Right after I claim what belongs to me." 24 hours later, Nyara walked into Trevor's engagement party on the arm of the most dangerous man in the entire city. Hey loves, welcome back to Soul K Diary. If you are absolutely obsessed with revenge stories, powerful women who refuse to be disrespected, and dark romances that will have you literally screaming at your screen, you need to hit that subscribe button right now and smash that like because this story is about to get completely unhinged in the best possible way. The next morning, Nyara sat in her father's lawyer's office, and this was a very different kind of lawyer than Trevor's sterile corporate firm. Attorney Okonkwo was a distinguished Ghanaian man in his 70s with silver hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see straight through to your soul, that missed absolutely nothing. He'd flown in overnight from Geneva specifically for this full reading. "Miss Okafor," he began, and Nyara noticed immediately that he didn't use her married name of Harris. "Your father left very explicit and detailed instructions about when you should learn the truth about who he really was, about his real life. He wanted desperately to tell you himself, but circumstances prevented that conversation from ever happening." He slid a tablet across his antique mahogany desk. Her father's face appeared on the screen, healthy and vibrant and alive, clearly recorded maybe 5 or 6 weeks before the massive heart attack that supposedly killed him. "My beautiful Nyara." Her father's voice filled the office, rich and warm, and tears immediately sprang to her eyes. "If you're watching this recording, then I'm gone from this world. And it's finally time for you to know who I really was, who you really are, and what you were always meant to become." 50 minutes later, Nyara walked out of that office a completely different woman, transformed entirely. Her father hadn't just been wealthy or successful. He was Chukwudi the Lion Okafor, one of the most powerful men on the entire planet. His empire stretched across technology, international real estate, strategic shipping and imports across 4 continents, and connections that reached deep into governments most people didn't even know existed. The inheritance included $47 billion in liquid assets, dozens of companies, properties spanning 12 countries, and most importantly, alliances with some of the most powerful and dangerous families in the world, both legitimate business people and those operating in the shadows where laws bent. Her father had protected her from this reality her entire life, raised her normal and ordinary, kept her safe in obscurity and anonymity. But he'd also been training her without her knowledge or understanding. All those business trips where he'd taught her negotiation through what she thought were just games and puzzles. The 6 languages he'd insisted she learn fluently. How to read people's micro-expressions and body language like a book. Strategic thinking disguised as chess matches that lasted for hours. "You have enemies now, my daughter." Her father's voice on the recording had been gentle but absolutely firm. "Real enemies who will want to take what belongs to you. People who will see you as weak, as a target, as someone to eliminate. Trust only the names on the list Attorney Okonkwo gives you. And above all others, above everyone, trust Seo-jun. His father saved my life in Seoul 20 years ago. We became brothers in every way that matters. Seo-jun will protect you with his life if you're smart enough to let him." Attorney Okonkwo handed her a phone, sleek and black. "It's completely encrypted and secure. There's only one number programmed into it. When you're ready, call him. Mr. Han is expecting to hear from you." "And my husband?" Nyara asked, her mind already racing 3 steps ahead, pieces clicking rapidly into place. Attorney Okonkwo's smile was absolutely razor-sharp, dangerous. "Your father suspected Trevor was a serious problem about 2 years ago. We've had him thoroughly investigated by the best people in the business. Would you like to see the complete file?" Oh, yes. Yes, she absolutely would. The file revealed that Trevor wasn't just cheating with Celeste. He'd been systematically destroying Nyara financially for the past 18 months in ways she never suspected. Credit cards opened in her name that she didn't know existed, maxed out immediately. A second mortgage fraudulently taken out on the small house her grandmother had left her. Even her identity used to secure high-interest personal loans. He'd buried her $215,000 in suffocating debt while wearing $1,000 suits and dining at restaurants that cost more than her entire monthly salary. But there was more. Much more. Celeste's family law firm was on the absolute verge of bankruptcy, hemorrhaging money and clients rapidly, maybe weeks away from complete collapse. The marriage wasn't about love at all. It wasn't even about attraction. It was a business merger, a calculated buyout, with Trevor as the valuable asset being purchased to bring in his connections and high-profile cases. Nyara sat in her father's penthouse, her penthouse now, in a building she owned, 52 floors above the city she thought she knew, and stared at the encrypted phone in her hand. She had two very clear choices in front of her. 1. Take the high road. Use lawyers. Drag Trevor through court. Be civilized and reasonable and do everything by the book the way everyone expected her to. 2. Make a phone call. Nyara thought about her baby, about the tiny life growing inside her that Trevor had rejected without a second thought. About every dream she'd deferred and postponed. Every insult she'd swallowed and smiled through. Every time she'd made herself smaller and quieter so Trevor could feel bigger and more important. She dialed the number. It rang exactly once. Miss Okafor. The voice was deep, slightly accented, and did something strange to her nervous system that she wasn't prepared for. I've been waiting for your call. My deepest condolences about Uncle Chakwudi. He was one of the greatest men I've ever known. Mr. Han. Please call me Seo-jun. Your father and mine didn't believe in formality between family. Neither should we. A pause. I assume you've been briefed on your inheritance and your situation. Yes. And I assume you're calling because someone needs to learn a very painful lesson about the consequences of betraying a queen. Nyara's breath caught in her throat. How did you know what I was thinking? Your husband filed for divorce yesterday. He also attempted to claim spousal rights to your father's estate, arguing for marital assets and community property. Seo-jun's voice turned to absolute ice. He was politely redirected and firmly denied. Nyara, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need complete honesty from you. Can you do that? Yes. Do you want justice, or do you want revenge? Nobody had ever asked her that question before. Everyone in her life had always expected her to be reasonable, forgiving, understanding, the bigger person, the peacemaker who smoothed everything over and made everyone comfortable. Revenge, she whispered. Then louder, stronger. I want revenge. I want him to feel every bit of pain he's caused me. Good. She could hear the smile in his voice, dangerous and promising. A car will pick you up in exactly 1 hour. Wear something that makes you feel absolutely invincible. It's time for the world to meet the real Nyara Okafor. It's time for everyone to see who you really are. Where are we going? Your husband is celebrating his engagement to his mistress tonight. At the Sapphire Room downtown. Seo-jun paused deliberately. How would you like to make an entrance that no one will ever forget? The Sapphire Room was where the elite played, where the powerful came to see and be seen. Nyara had never been allowed inside. Trevor always said it was for important clients and high-level networking, and that she wouldn't understand the dynamics, wouldn't fit in with that crowd. Looking at herself in the mirror now, Nyara almost laughed at who she'd allowed herself to become over the past 4 years. The woman staring back at her was a warrior queen. Her natural hair was styled in an elaborate updo adorned with her father's gold hairpins, 5 carats each, that she'd found in the penthouse safe. The emerald green dress hugged every single curve while still radiating sophisticated power, custom Tom Ford that attorney Okonkwo had delivered with a note explaining her father had commissioned it for her 30th birthday next month. Gold jewelry at her throat and wrists. Deep red lips. And her father's signet ring on her right hand, the lion crest that would mean everything to the people who actually mattered. The knock on her door came at exactly the right time, precisely 1 hour later. But instead of a driver in a uniform, the man standing in her doorway made Nyara's heart completely forget how to beat properly. Han Seo-jun was absolutely devastating. Tall and broad-shouldered with the kind of face that belonged in films, except for the thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow and the predatory, dangerous edge in his dark eyes that suggested he'd earned that scar doing something most people wouldn't survive. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit, and he looked at Nyara like she was a priceless masterpiece in a museum. You're his daughter, he said quietly, and it wasn't a question. You have his eyes. The same fire burning inside. And you're Seo-jun. Nyara refused to be intimidated even though her pulse was racing wildly. You're younger than I expected. I thought you'd be my father's age. His smile was absolutely lethal. You're stronger than your father feared you might be. He worried this world would break you, that you weren't ready for what was coming. Seo-jun offered his arm. Shall we go break your husband instead? The car was a Bentley, matte black, and bulletproof according to Seo-jun's casual mention as they drove through the city. Inside the leather interior, Nyara tried to steady her breathing, tried to calm her racing thoughts. I don't know if I can actually do this. Walk in there and pretend I'm not absolutely terrified. You're not pretending anything. Seo-jun's eyes met hers in the dim light. You are Chukwudi Okafor's daughter. You're carrying a child. You've survived betrayal and grief. You're already stronger than everyone in that room. You're just allowing them to finally see it. What if I mess this up? What if I say the wrong thing or freeze? Then I'll be right beside you to fix it. Seo-jun's voice was absolute certainty. And Nyara, everyone in that club knows who you are now. The will was officially filed this afternoon. Your name is all over the financial news networks. By now, Trevor knows he made the biggest mistake of his miserable life. Panic flashed through her. He knows already? He knows I inherited? He knows you inherited billions. He doesn't know about your father's real empire yet, not the full scope and reach. But he knows he threw away a fortune. And he's going to spend the rest of his life regretting it. The Sapphire Room's entrance was all velvet ropes and intimidating doormen who made their living turning people away, making them feel small. But when Nyara stepped out of the Bentley on Seo-jun's arm, everything changed like magic. The head of security took one look at her father's signet ring, and his entire demeanor shifted instantly. Miss Okafor, he said, actually bowing slightly with respect. Welcome to the Sapphire Room. It's an honor to have you here. Please, right this way. Inside was pure opulence, all leather and crystal and people who owned small countries. The lighting was low and intimate, music playing softly. And Nyara saw Trevor immediately, like her eyes were drawn to him by magnets. He stood near the bar with Celeste, a thin blonde woman dripping in jewelry that was probably costume given her family's financial situation that Nyara now knew about. Celeste was laughing at something, her hand possessive on Trevor's arm, marking her territory. Trevor's face when he saw Nyara was absolutely priceless. His champagne glass actually slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor with a crash that made people turn. Nyara? He pushed through the crowd toward her, shock written clearly across his features. What are you doing here? How did you even get past security? I was invited, Nyara said calmly, channeling every ounce of power she'd inherited. I'm a member now, apparently. My father had lifetime platinum membership. He left it to me along with quite a few other things. Trevor's face cycled rapidly through confusion, shock, and then calculation. Listen, about yesterday, about the papers. Maybe we were a bit hasty about everything. We should probably talk about this properly, sit down, and discuss our options like adults. Now you want to talk? Nyara's voice was silk wrapped around steel. Yesterday you told me it wasn't your problem. Yesterday you told me to sign the papers so you could marry your mistress. Celeste appeared then, latching onto Trevor's arm possessively, marking her territory clearly. Who is this baby? Why is she talking to you like that? This is Nyara, Trevor said, swallowing hard. My wife. My soon-to-be ex-wife. Soon-to-be ex-wife, Celeste corrected sharply, her voice cutting. We're getting married next month. The venue is already booked. Everything is planned. Congratulations, Nyara said sweetly, her smile sharp as glass. I truly hope you loved it because Trevor buried me in over $200,000 of it. Forged signatures, fraudulent loans, identity theft. I'm sure you'll both really enjoy dealing with the federal investigators when they come calling. You can't prove any of that, Trevor hissed, but his face had gone pale. You're just bitter and jealous. Actually, Seo-jun spoke for the first time, his voice carrying an authority that made people nearby turn and stare. We can prove all of it. And we absolutely will. Documentation, paper trails, witnesses, bank records. Everything needed for a very solid federal case. Trevor looked at Seo-jun like he was seeing a ghost or a demon. Who the hell are you? This is Han Seo-jun, Nyara said, enjoying every single second. My head of security and my business partner. Executive protection. Seo-jun's smile didn't even come close to reaching his cold eyes. I'm also the man who will personally ensure you face very serious consequences for identity theft, fraud, and attempting to steal from Miss Okafor's inheritance. I'm very good at my job. I enjoy it immensely. The word inheritance made Trevor go absolutely pale. Nyara, he tried again, desperation creeping into his voice now. We can work this out. You're pregnant with my child. We're having a baby together. That has to mean something. We're a family. It meant something yesterday? Nyara felt Seo-jun's steadying presence beside her, solid and unwavering. When you told me it wasn't your problem anymore. When you told me to sign papers so you could marry another woman. Sign the divorce papers, Trevor. Take your $80,000. And pray every single day that I don't decide to prosecute you for everything you've done. Pray I show you mercy. You're making the biggest mistake of your life. Trevor's voice rose, drawing more attention. Without me, you're nothing. You've always been nothing, Nyara. You're a community counselor. You'll never be anything more than that. That's where you're very wrong. A new voice joined the conversation, cultured and sharp. A woman in her 60s, elegant and powerful, approached them. Nyara recognized her face from business magazines. Diana Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Pharmaceuticals, one of the largest medical companies in the country. Nyara is Chukwudi Okafor's daughter and sole heir. That makes her one of the single most powerful people in this entire room, possibly in this city. Trevor, you're the nothing here. You're just a junior partner at a failing firm who got very, very lucky and then threw it all away for what? A paralegal and her bankrupt family? More people were gathering now, a crowd forming, the city's elite watching the drama unfold with absolute fascination. Nyara saw recognition dawning on face after face as they looked at her signet ring. Her companion made the connections. Is it true? Someone asked from the crowd. Did you really inherit the Okafor fortune? The whole thing? Yes, Nyara said clearly, her voice carrying. And the companies. And the international holdings and partnerships. I'm taking over my father's position across all boards and business ventures. I'm stepping into his role completely. The room absolutely erupted in whispers and murmurs. Trevor looked like he might actually be sick right there on the marble floor. Celeste's eyes were calculating rapidly, probably realizing with absolute horror that she'd convinced him to leave a gold mine for fool's gold. Come, Seo-jun said quietly to Nyara, his hand gentle on her lower back. You've made your point beautifully. Let's leave them to salvage what's left of their party. As they walked toward the exit, Diana called out behind them. Miss Okafor, I'd very much love to discuss a potential partnership. Your father and I had plans to collaborate on pharmaceutical access in underserved communities across Africa. I'd be deeply honored to continue that work with you, to honor his vision. Nyara turned back, smiled genuinely for the first time all evening. I'd like that very much, Mrs. Whitmore. Have your people contact my office. We'll set up a proper meeting to discuss it in detail. Outside in the cool night air, Nyara finally let herself breathe properly, let the tension drain from her shoulders. That was, she started, her voice shaking slightly. Incredible, Seo-jun finished for her. You were absolutely incredible in there. Did you see his face when you mentioned the debt? Did you see Celeste's face when she realized what he gave up? Nyara started laughing, slightly hysterical, adrenaline crashing through her system. Oh my God, I actually did that. I actually confronted him. Come on. Seo-jun guided her gently to the car. Let's get you home. You need rest. This has been a very long and emotional day. At her building, Seo-jun walked her all the way to her door, proper and respectful. "Thank you," Nyara said softly. "For tonight. For everything you did. For being there beside me." "This is my job," Seo-jun replied. "Protecting you is exactly what your father asked me to do. It's what I promised him before he died." "Is that all it is?" Nyara asked before she could stop herself, before she could think better of it. "Just your job?" Seo-jun looked at her for a long moment, something intense burning in his dark eyes. "No," he said finally, honestly. "It stopped being just a job the moment I saw you standing in that hallway wearing emerald and looking like you could conquer entire nations. But you're pregnant. You're grieving your father. You're dealing with betrayal and massive life changes. So I'm going to be completely professional and patient and whatever you need me to be. Good night, Nyara Okafor. Sleep well." Nyara went inside, her head spinning with everything that had happened, everything that had changed in just one day. She touched her stomach gently, whispered to the baby growing inside her. "We're going to be okay. Better than okay. We're going to be extraordinary." The next morning, Nyara woke to 17 missed calls and 49 emails. News of her inheritance had absolutely exploded overnight across business news and social media. Her phone rang again, and she answered. "Miss Okafor, this is Attorney Okonkwo. I hope you slept well after last night's events. The media is requesting interviews. Multiple companies want meetings. Your father's business partners want to meet you formally. And Trevor's lawyer called early this morning. He wants to renegotiate the settlement terms." Nyara smiled, feeling powerful for the first time in years. "Tell Trevor's lawyer the offer is now 50,000, not 80. And he has exactly 24 hours to accept before I file criminal fraud charges. Let him think about that carefully." "As you wish." "Also, your father had scheduled board meetings and business dinners for the next 2 weeks. I've arranged for Mr. Han to accompany you to all of them. You'll be meeting all the key players in your father's empire, the people who matter." "Am I actually ready for this?" Nyara asked quietly, doubt creeping in. "You're Chukwudi Okafor's daughter," Attorney Okonkwo said warmly. "You were born ready for this. He prepared you for this your entire life without you even knowing it. Trust yourself." The next 2 weeks were an absolute crash course in running a global empire, in wielding real power. Nyara attended board meeting after board meeting where men twice her age tested her, tried to dismiss her, assumed she'd crumble under pressure or defer to their experience. She didn't crumble. She didn't defer. On the third day, Francis Chin, the CFO of Okafor Tech, tried to steamroll her in a meeting about quarterly projections. "With all due respect, Miss Okafor," he said condescendingly, "these are complex financial matters. Perhaps we should table this discussion until you've had more time to review the basics." Nyara looked at him coolly. "With all due respect, Mr. Chin, I've reviewed 3 years of quarterly reports. Your projections are consistently 30% over what we actually deliver. Either you're terrible at your job or you're inflating numbers. Which is it?" The room went silent. Chen's face turned red. "I'm giving you 1 week to provide accurate projections," Nyara continued. "If you can't, I'll find someone who can." Seo-jun, standing behind her, smiled slightly. After the meeting, Chin approached her privately. "Miss Okafor, I apologize. Your father would be proud." From then on, people stopped testing her. With Seo-jun beside her, always steady and solid, she made the decisions her father had unknowingly prepared her for. She fired 3 corrupt executives who'd been embezzling for years. She promoted talented people her father had flagged as promising. She made strategic moves that impressed even the harshest skeptics. And everywhere she went, people started to respect her, to see her as her father's true heir. And everywhere she went, Seo-jun was right there beside her. Professional. Protective. Perfect. But Nyara noticed things. Small things that added up. The way his eyes followed her around every room. how he always positioned himself between her and any potential threat. The small touches that lasted just slightly too long, a hand steadying her elbow, fingers brushing when passing documents, his palm warm on her lower back guiding her through crowds. The tension was building between them like a storm gathering strength. One week in, Trevor called her directly. "Nyara, please. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. Can we talk? We have nothing to discuss. I love you. I want to work this out. I want to be there for our baby. You had your chance, Trevor. You made your choice. Live with it." She hung up and blocked his number. 2 days later, Celeste's father's law firm officially filed for bankruptcy. The engagement was quietly called off. Trevor's firm let him go, citing the fraud investigation. Nyara felt no satisfaction, only relief that he was out of her life. "You need to eat something," Seo-jun said one evening after a particularly brutal 14-hour negotiation session. His voice was firm, leaving no room for argument. Nyara looked up from the contracts spread across her dining room table. "I need to finish reviewing these first. They're important. You need to take care of yourself and your baby first. That's more important than any contract." Seo-jun's voice was gentle but absolute. "I'm ordering food. What sounds good to you? You're incredibly bossy, you know that? You love it." Nyara couldn't help but smile. "Maybe I do." Over Thai food that Seo-jun had delivered from her favorite place, they talked about things that had nothing to do with business. Seo-jun told her about growing up in Seoul, about his training in executive protection and martial arts, about how her father had saved his father's life during a business deal that had turned violent in Singapore 15 years ago. "Your father was the most honorable man I've ever known," Seo-jun said quietly. "He talked about you constantly whenever we met. He was so incredibly proud of who you'd become, the woman you were." "I wish I'd known him better," Nyara admitted, pain in her voice. "The real him, not just my dad." "He was protecting you," Seo-jun said gently. "He wanted you to have a normal childhood, a normal life for as long as possible. But now it's your turn. To protect what he built. To grow it into something even greater. He knew you could do it. Do you really think so?" "I know so. I've watched you these past 2 weeks. You're extraordinary, Nyara." On day 10, someone tried to poison Nyara's coffee during a board meeting. Seo-jun caught it, knocked the cup from her hand just as she was about to drink. The liquid splashed across the table. "Everyone out. Now." His voice was cold steel. Within minutes, his team had identified the culprit, a junior executive who'd been paid by a rival company to eliminate her. "You have enemies," Seo-jun told her that night. "Real ones. People who want you dead so they can fight over what you inherited." "I know." Nyara's hand went to her stomach. "What do I do? You let me do my job. And you keep being brilliant." From then on, Seo-jun never left her side. He moved into the penthouse below hers, had security systems installed, vetted everyone who came near her. And Nyara realized she felt safer with him than she'd ever felt with anyone. For weeks after her father's death, Nyara attended her first major gala as the official head of Okafor Enterprises. The dress was custom gold silk that accommodated her small but growing belly while making her look like absolute royalty. Seo-jun wore a perfectly tailored tuxedo and looked so devastating that Nyara had to consciously remind herself to breathe normally. "Ready?" he asked, offering his arm. "As ready as I'll ever be." The gala was held at the Fairmont, a massive ballroom filled with literally hundreds of the country's most powerful people. Business leaders, politicians, old money and new money. Everyone who mattered was there. Nyara walked in on Seo-jun's arm and felt every single eye in the room turn toward her. She held her head high, shoulders back, her father's signet ring catching the light from the crystal chandeliers. Miss Okafor, a tall woman with steel-gray hair, approached immediately. "I'm Catherine Monroe, CEO of Monroe International. Your father was a dear friend and trusted business partner for over 2 decades. I'm so deeply sorry for your loss. He was truly one of a kind. Thank you, Nyara said graciously, channeling everything she'd learned. I've heard wonderful things about your work in sustainable infrastructure development across Southeast Asia. I'd love to discuss potential collaborations. Catherine's eyes lit up with genuine interest. I'd be honored. Your father and I had active partnerships in 3 countries. I sincerely hope we can continue and expand that relationship moving forward. Let's schedule a meeting next week to discuss specifics. As Catherine walked away, more people approached. Not testing her now, but respecting her, seeking her favor and alliance. The shift was palpable and real. Nyara also met James Rothstein, who controlled half the shipping on the East Coast. Michael Park, a tech billionaire from Seoul. Elena Volkov, whose family had ties to everything that mattered in Eastern Europe. Your father spoke of you often, Elena said quietly. He said you had the mind of a strategist and the heart of a lion. I see he was correct. By the end of the night, Nyara had secured 5 major new business partnerships, successfully navigated 2 attempted hostile negotiations by competitors, been offered positions on 3 prestigious boards, and firmly established herself as her father's legitimate heir in front of everyone who mattered. You were absolutely magnificent tonight, Seo-jun said as they left, his voice warm with pride. Every inch the queen you were born to be. In the car, Nyara finally let herself relax completely, let the exhaustion catch up. I can't believe I actually survived that. For weeks ago, I was just Nyara. Now I'm running an empire. I can believe it, Seo-jun's eyes were warm as they met hers. I've watched you transform these 4 weeks. You're exactly who your father always knew you would become. Outside her building, they stood in the marble lobby between the elevators to their respective floors, 45 and 46. So, Seo-jun said carefully, measuring his words. For weeks have passed. You've claimed your empire. Divorced your husband. Established your power and position. What happens now? What do you want to happen next? Nyara looked at him, really looked at him. This dangerous, beautiful man who'd spent an entire month teaching her, protecting her, supporting her, looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. I'm keeping it all, she said firmly. The businesses. The empire. The responsibility. Everything my father built. She stepped closer to him. And I want you as my partner. Business partner, Seo-jun repeated slowly, his voice rough. Is that all? Nyara's hand touched his chest lightly, felt his heart racing beneath her palm. For now, yes. I'm about to be a single mother running a multi-billion-dollar empire. I need to be smart about this. About us. Smart, Seo-jun agreed, but his hand covered hers, warm and strong. And what would smart look like to you? Taking things slowly. Getting to know each other outside of crisis mode and business. Making absolutely sure this is real and not just adrenaline and proximity. I can do slow, Seo-jun said, his eyes intense. I've waited 15 years for someone like you. I can wait longer. As long as you need. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. But Nyara, I want you to know something. I'm not going anywhere. And eventually, when you're finally ready, I'm going to court you the way you deserve. I'm going to show you exactly what true devotion looks like. And then I'm going to make you mine in every way that matters. Nyara's breath caught in her throat. That's quite a promise to make. I don't make promises I can't keep. Seo-jun's smile was absolutely devastating. Good night, Nyara Okafor. Sleep well. Tomorrow we start building your empire even stronger. He walked to his private elevator, pressed the button for the 46th floor, his penthouse directly above hers. Just before the doors closed, he looked at her one more time, and the absolute heat in his eyes promised absolutely everything. Nyara went to her apartment, her heart racing wildly, and realized something profound. For the first time in years, she was genuinely excited about her future. She had purpose. She had power. And she had someone who saw her, really saw her. Over the next 6 months, Seo-jun kept his word. He courted her properly, traditionally, beautifully. Dinners at quiet restaurants with Jin-soo, his second-in-command, always discreetly present as chaperone. Flowers delivered to her office every Monday, her favorite white orchids. Books he thought she'd enjoy, always with a handwritten note. Late-night conversations on her balcony that stretched for hours, talking about everything and nothing. He learned her pregnancy cravings and made sure she always had pickles and ice cream at 3 in the morning. He attended every single doctor's appointment, held her hand during the ultrasound when they learned she was having a girl. A daughter, Nyara whispered, tears streaming down her face. She's going to be as beautiful and strong as her mother, Seo-jun said softly. But he never pushed for more. Never pressured her. Was the perfect gentleman in every possible way. And Nyara was slowly losing her mind with want. The business continued to thrive under her leadership. She expanded into new markets, made strategic acquisitions, grew her father's empire beyond even his wildest dreams. And through it all, Seo-jun was there. Her partner. Her protector. Her best friend. 3 months in, Trevor showed up at her office building, desperate. "Nyara, please. I was wrong about everything. I want another chance. I want to be a father to our daughter. You signed away your parental rights, Trevor. You have no claim to her. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Now live with it. Security, please escort Mr. Harris out." She never saw him again. At 5 months pregnant, Nyara discovered someone was embezzling from one of her companies. She traced it back to one of her father's oldest business partners, a man she'd trusted. "I'm sorry," she told him as federal agents arrested him. "But my father taught me loyalty is everything. You betrayed that." At 6 months, there was another attempt on her life. A car bomb that Seo-jun detected before she got anywhere near her vehicle. "This has to stop," she told him, shaking. "I can't live like this. I'll find who's behind this. I promise you. And they'll regret ever coming after you." Within a week, Seo-jun had identified the threat, a rival family who wanted to take over her shipping routes. He dealt with them personally. Nyara didn't ask for details. She didn't need to know. At 7 months pregnant, Nyara attended another major gala. This time, she was radiant, glowing, undeniably powerful. "She's going to rule the world one day," Catherine Monroe said, watching Nyara work the room. "She already does," Seo-jun replied. 7 months later, the boardroom fell into absolute silence as Nyara entered. At 8 months pregnant, she was absolutely glowing, radiating power and confidence and strength. Her custom maternity suit was tailored to perfection, and her father's signet ring gleamed on her hand as she took her seat at the head of the table. "Gentlemen, ladies," she greeted the Okafor Enterprises Board of Directors with a warm smile. "Thank you all for coming today. I have several important announcements to make." She'd spent the past 7 months proving herself over and over again, growing the empire beyond what even her father had achieved, making strategic moves that had tripled stock value and expanded their international reach into entirely new markets. And she'd done it all while preparing for motherhood, working closely with Seo-jun and slowly, carefully, falling completely and hopelessly in love. First, Nyara continued confidently, "I'm promoting Keisha Williams to Chief Financial Officer, effective immediately." Her restructuring plan for our West African operations exceeded every single projection by significant margins. Applause filled the room. Keisha, a brilliant woman her father had personally mentored for years, beamed with pride and gratitude. Second, we're entering a formal strategic partnership with Han Industries on our new green technology initiative. All the details are in the packets in front of you. More approval from around the table. The Han Alliance had already become legendary in international business circles. And third, Nyara smiled warmly, "I'll be taking maternity leave in 6 weeks." During my absence, all operations will be overseen by our new Chief Operating Officer, Seo-jun. Shock rippled through the room like an earthquake. Whispers started immediately. I know some of you have concerns about the Han family's reputation in certain circles, Nyara said calmly, addressing it head-on. But Seo-jun has proven himself absolutely invaluable these past 7 months. This company was built on my father's vision of loyalty, trust, and family above all else. Seo-jun is family now. After the meeting, Seo-jun found her in her office, the massive corner office that had been her father's, that she'd made her own. Seo, he said, smiling as he closed the door behind him. You didn't warn me. You didn't even give me a hint. Surprise, Nyara looked up from her desk, grinning. You've more than earned it. And I need someone I trust absolutely and completely when I'm focused on bringing this baby into the world. Seo-jun crossed to her desk slowly. These past 7 months have been the most exquisite torture of my entire life. Working together every single day, their chemistry building and building while they maintained strict professional boundaries. He'd courted her exactly as he'd promised he would. Dinners always with Jin-soo discreetly present. Thoughtful gifts that showed he knew her completely. Every bizarre pregnancy craving satisfied. Late-night conversations that made her heart sing. But he hadn't kissed her. Hadn't pushed for more. Had been the absolute perfect gentleman in every way. Nyara was slowly losing her mind with want. Seo-jun, she said now, standing up carefully, one hand on her belly. I need to tell you something important. What's wrong? He was immediately alert, instantly protective, crossing to her. Is it the baby? Are you okay? Nothing's wrong. Everything is actually perfect, incredibly perfect. The business is thriving beyond expectations. The baby is healthy and strong. I'm happy, genuinely happy. She walked around the desk toward him, her heart pounding. And I'm ready now. Ready for what? To stop being smart and cautious. To stop going so slow. Nyara stopped directly in front of him, looked up into his eyes. I'm ready for you to keep all those promises you made. To court me properly the way you said. To show me that devotion you talked about. She put her hand on his chest, felt his heart racing. I'm ready for us, Seo-jun. For everything. His eyes went dark with desire. Nyara, you're 8 months pregnant. You're emotional. Hormonal. You might not actually be thinking clearly about this. I'm 8 months pregnant with another man's child. Nyara cut him off firmly. I'm running a multi-billion-dollar empire across 4 continents. I'm powerful. I'm certain about what I want. And I know exactly what I'm doing. She looked directly into his eyes. I want you, Seo-jun. All of you. Not just as my Seo. Not just as my baby's godfather. I want you. You're absolutely certain about this? About us? I have never been more certain of anything in my entire life. Seo-jun's carefully maintained control completely shattered. He kissed her finally after 7 months of waiting and wanting, and it was everything Nyara had dreamed about and more. Passionate and claiming and tender all at once. His hands went to her face, her waist, so careful of her belly, reverent and gentle. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Seo-jun pressed his forehead to hers. I love you, he said simply, with complete honesty. I've been in love with you since you walked into the sapphire room wearing emerald and looking like you could burn the entire world down to ashes. I love your incredible strength. I love your brilliant mind. I love your fire and passion. I love that you're bringing a baby into this world that I already consider myself responsible for protecting. I love absolutely everything about you, Nyara Okafor. Nyara's eyes filled with tears of joy. I love you too. You've given me everything I needed. Safety and partnership and space to become who I was always meant to be. You've never once tried to diminish me or control me or make me smaller. You've just seen me completely. All of me. All of you is extraordinary, Seo-jun said softly. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring every second. So what now? Seo-jun asked, smiling. We're really doing this? We're really together? We're really doing this, Nyara smiled back. But still slowly in some ways. I want to have this baby first. Get settled into motherhood. Figure out this new chapter of my life. And then, she looked at him from under her lashes, then you can show me exactly what being yours in every way means. Seo-jun groaned. You're absolutely going to be the death of me, woman. Probably, Nyara laughed. But you said you could wait for me. For you, I would wait forever, he kissed her forehead tenderly. Now come on. Jinsu made reservations at that Korean fusion place you've been craving all week. You and our daughter need to eat properly. Our daughter, Nyara repeated softly, her heart full. Our daughter, Seo-jun confirmed. If you'll let me be her father in every way that matters. Yes, Nyara whispered. Yes, absolutely yes. So bossy, she added teasingly. You love it. I really, really do. 6 weeks later, Nyara gave birth to a beautiful baby girl with her father's eyes. Seo-jun was there, holding her hand through every contraction, cutting the umbilical cord, crying as he held their daughter for the first time. She's perfect, he whispered. Just like her mother. What should we name her? Nyara asked softly. Tia, Seo-jun said. It means grace in Igbo. And Jaiwoo for her middle name, after my mother. Tia Jaiwoo Okaforhan. It's perfect, Nyara agreed. 3 months later, they got married in a private ceremony with only their closest friends and family. Nyara wore white, Seo-jun wore traditional Korean hanbok, and Tia slept peacefully through the entire ceremony. You're mine now, Seo-jun whispered as they danced at the reception. Forever. I've been yours since the sapphire room, Nyara whispered back. I just didn't know it yet. And they lived, building an empire together, raising their daughter to be strong and fierce and kind, exactly like her parents. So what do you think happens next, loves? How does Trevor react when he finds out Nyara married Seo-jun and they're raising Tia together? What happens when Tia grows up and takes over the empire herself? And do they ever find out who really killed Nyara's father? Drop a emoji if you're completely addicted to this story and desperately want more. And subscribe to this channel because we drop the most dramatic, multicultural romance stories every single week without fail. Your girl went from signing divorce papers while grieving and pregnant to signing billion-dollar deals and marrying the man of her dreams. That's the exact energy we're all carrying forward. See you in the next story, Queens and Kings.